Thank you for watching. Let's continue. We journey now into Ted Turner's 2-million-acre empire, a network of immense ranches where ancient ecological principles are being revived on a scale once thought impossible. This is the story of how healing the land can reveal discoveries beyond imagination. How a single animal became the engine for an ecological miracle visible even from space. And how a sustainable business model is funding the largest private conservation effort in human history. We will witness the return of a prehistoric giant to America after a 10,000-year absence and explore the sophisticated technology used to track the very heartbeat of this restored wilderness. It is a chronicle of how one man's audacious dream is rewriting the future of the American West. Our story begins not with a grand success, but with a grand failure. In 1989, media mogul Ted Turner stood on a windswept Montana hillside, looking out at the 113-acre Flying D property in many regions. Gazing out across the 113-acre Flying D ranch, the view was a moonscape. Decades of intensive cattle grazing had scoured the land so thoroughly that a person could walk for miles without seeing a single blade of native grass. His own financial advisors insisted he was insane to pay $22 million for an ecological wasteland, and local ranchers laughed at the city slicker from Atlanta who thought he could mend what had been broken for generations. But this purchase was merely the beginning. Over the next 3 decades, Turner would spend over $2 billion acquiring struggling ranches, forging an empire that now covers more than 2 million acres across the American West, an area larger than the state of Delaware. His holdings are so vast and diverse that they contain entire ecosystems, from the short grass prairies of Nebraska to the 558,000-acre Vermejo Ranch in New Mexico. This single property, larger than most national parks, stretches from rolling plains to snow-capped alpine tundra over 12,900 feet high. He wasn't just buying land, he was acquiring the broken pieces of a lost world, a canvas on which to paint a restored masterpiece. To do that, he needed a very specific tool, an animal that held the secret to the land's rebirth in its very DNA. At the very heart of Turner's vision lay the American bison. In the 1800s, as many as 60 million of these animals defined the Great Plains. Yet, by 1890, after a systematic campaign of slaughter, fewer than 1,000 remained, most held in zoos or tiny government herds. Turner saw them not just as a species to be saved, but as the engine that could bring an entire ecosystem back to life. He understood an ancient principle that modern agriculture had forgotten. The bison was a keystone species, the one animal that could engineer the rebirth of the prairie. Unlike cattle, which tend to graze in the same areas repeatedly, compacting the soil, bison are constantly on the move. Their sharp hooves are nature's aerators, breaking up the hard earth and allowing it to breathe. When they wallow in dust, they carve out shallow depressions that become vital microhabitats, collecting precious rainwater for insects and plants. Their unique grazing style, where they clip grasses rather than pulling them up by the roots, actually stimulates stronger, healthier growth. The transformation they triggered was so profound that it was captured by NASA. Satellite photos of Turner's ranches, once brown and barren, began to turn a vibrant green, an ecological miracle visible from orbit. As the bison healed the land from the ground up, another ancient forest was being restored from the mountaintops down. Across his 2 million acres, Turner has accomplished something that seems impossible in the arid West. In the heart of the arid West, he has achieved something remarkable, increasing the amount of available water. This was not accomplished with new technology, but by restoring the landscape's own natural plumbing. For decades, poor land use had damaged the streams and rivers, causing water to rush away, taking valuable topsoil with it. By healing these watersheds, his ranches now capture and store more water than when he first acquired them. Nowhere is this more evident than on the Vermejo Ranch. A massive 15-year project is now underway to restore the Rio Grande cutthroat trout, New Mexico's state fish, to over 120 miles of its native mountain streams. This requires the painstaking removal of non-native fish, like brook trout, which were introduced decades ago and compete with the native trout for food and space. As the streamside vegetation has been restored, beavers have returned. These other natural engineers build dams that create cooler, deeper pools, further improving the habitat for the native fish and recharging the groundwater for the entire valley. It is a powerful lesson in how fixing one part of a natural system can create a cascade of positive effects. The return of clean water and healthy grass was an open invitation for animals gone for a century to finally come home. In a radical departure from traditional ranching, which viewed predators as a threat to be eliminated, Turner embraced them as a crucial part of a healthy ecosystem. As the grasslands recovered and prey populations like elk and prairie dogs rebounded, predators began returning on their own. Mountain lions, black bears, and coyotes started appearing on properties where they hadn't been seen for decades. His ranches now support some of the healthiest predator populations in the American West, creating a unique natural laboratory. On the Vermejo Ranch, graduate student Max Marwin from Oklahoma State University has been studying the complex, brutal relationship between cougars and black bears. His research focuses on a behavior called kleptoparasitism, where one predator systematically steals another's kill. By tracking these interactions, scientists are learning how a complete self-regulating ecosystem truly functions. Untangling the intricate dance of life and death erased from most of the landscape a century ago. This acceptance of nature's full complexity, including its top predators, set the stage for Turner's most ambitious projects. As the land healed, he began building a modern-day Noah's Ark, using his ranches as a sanctuary for some of the most endangered animals on Earth. His mission to save the Mexican gray wolf serves as a prime illustration. When this work began in 1997, there were fewer than 50 of these wolves left on Earth. The program, a partnership with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, was a monumental challenge. Devastating disease wiped out entire litters, and genetic problems threatened the fragile bloodline. This Ladder Ranch in New Mexico became home to the Ladder Ranch Wolf Management Facility, one of only 3 pre-release centers in the country. It functions as a crucial halfway house, a place where captive-bred wolves can acclimate to the wild before their release, and where wild wolves can be brought for medical care. Since 1998, over 140 different wolves have passed through this facility, a vital contribution in pulling the species back from the brink. In 2021, the ranch even became the first private land to host a translocation, providing a home for a new wild pack to give them the best possible chance of survival. While saving a famous predator is one thing, the next creature on this ark vanished from the American landscape before the pyramids were even built. Meet the Bolson tortoise. These prehistoric giants can live for over 100 years and weigh up to 100 pounds, but they had disappeared from what is now the United States for over 10,000 years since the last ice age. By the early 2000s, fewer than 2,500 remained in a tiny patch of Mexico, listed as critically endangered. Experts believed saving them was hopeless. They take up to 20 years to reach sexual maturity, and there simply was not enough time. But Turner proved them wrong. In 2006, the Turner Endangered Species Fund acquired a small group of just 30 tortoises from a private collection that had been cared for over 40 years. From that tiny founding population, his ranches in New Mexico have now successfully produced over 800 hatchlings. Using a Head Start program, the young tortoises are raised in predator-proof enclosures until they reach a size where they can survive on their own. In a profound act of what scientists call Pleistocene rewilding, they have released the first American-born tortoises back into their ancestral homeland in 10 millennia. For the first time in 10 millennia, they were returning to their ancestral homeland. It was like resurrecting a living fossil. But Turner's true genius wasn't just in saving a species, it was in making conservation profitable. He knew that for his vision to endure, it could not be a philanthropic hobby. It had to be a sustainable business. The most renowned part of this plan is Ted's Montana Grill, a restaurant chain he co-founded on a revolutionary concept: use the bison to save the bison. By forging a national market for bison meat, he generated a reliable revenue stream to fund the very conservation that produced it. The idea was an instant success. Americans discovered that bison is not only delicious, but remarkably healthier than beef, boasting more protein, less fat, and higher levels of nutrients like iron. And because bison are perfectly adapted to the prairie, they are raised with a far lighter environmental footprint. The restaurants, now numbering over 40, have served over 50 million bison meals, creating a market that supports not just Turner's conservation efforts, but bison producers across the country. It is a perfect vertically integrated system from pasture to plate that turns a burger into a tool for ecological restoration. What few people grasp is that Turner's 2 million acres have become one of the most important ecological research sites on the planet. Universities and research institutions from around the globe come here to conduct pioneering studies on everything from climate change to wildlife behavior. The immense scale and health of these ecosystems provide a unique opportunity for discovery, and sometimes those discoveries are truly astonishing. Take the work of graduate student Ben Legler from the University of Wyoming. While conducting a 3-year floristic inventory of the massive Vermejo Ranch, he documented over 1,000 different plant species. In the process, high on an alpine scree slope above the timberline, he found a delicate purple flower that had never been seen before, a species entirely new to science. What they had found was a species entirely new to science, now named Phlox vermejoensis, the Vermejo phlox. The very act of restoring this land had created the opportunity for new scientific knowledge to emerge, proving a profound point. When we destroy ecosystems, we are not just losing what we know is there, we are losing everything we have not yet had the chance to discover. And while these ranches emphasize natural processes, they also employ cutting-edge technology that could make a Silicon Valley engineer envious. It's a system that would make a Silicon Valley engineer envious. Many of the bison wear GPS collars, each costing over $3,000. But these devices do more than just track location. They monitor activity levels and health status in real time, delivering a constant stream of data. The system is so precise, it can predict when a female is about to give birth or detect an illness before physical symptoms even appear. This torrent of data allows managers to understand the herds with a level of detail once thought unimaginable, informing both grazing strategies and research projects. Graduate student Kate Asmus, for example, used this GPS telemetry to study bison migration and grazing dynamics, advancing the understanding of how this keystone species uses the landscape. This fusion of ancient ecology and modern technology extends to the land itself. Aerial surveys using aircraft and drones monitor wildlife populations and assess range conditions across vast landscapes, covering areas in a single day that would take ground crews weeks. This scientific rigor doesn't just produce academic papers, it powers a potent economic engine in places that need it most. But Turner's quest went deeper than mere numbers. He wasn't just saving any single herd. He wasn't just saving any bison, he was preserving their ancient genetic legacy. He sought out and protected specific herds, like the Castle Rock bison on his Vermejo Ranch, a population that has been on that land for over 100 years. Why is this so important? Because genetic testing has shown this herd is free of the cattle DNA that has contaminated so many other herds, even some of those in Yellowstone. These animals are a pure, uncorrupted link to the millions of bison that once defined the American continent. They are a living genetic ark. The management of this herd is as hands-off as possible, allowing them to migrate freely across more than 500,000 acres, emulating the natural patterns that shaped the Great Plains for millennia. This is not just about bringing back an animal. It is about preserving an uncorrupted piece of the wild, a biological treasure that, once lost, could never be recreated. It is the ultimate expression of his philosophy: to save not just the pieces of an ecosystem, but the entire intricate machine. From a barren wasteland to a thriving world, Ted Turner's empire is more than just land. It is a working model, proving that conservation and capitalism do not have to be enemies. If you enjoyed this journey, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. There are many more remarkable stories ahead. Proving that conservation and capitalism need not be enemies, his ranches serve as living laboratories. They are testing what the future of coexistence might look like, reminding us that the most meaningful progress often begins by returning to nature itself. If you enjoyed this journey, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. There are many more remarkable stories ahead.